the Guiding Gamer here, and welcome to the first guide in a series of videos that is going to be all about Redstone, all the way from the basics up to much more complicated things. It's a little background stuff. I've been building Redstone in Minecraft on and off for many years, like 8 years, 9 years, you name it. Probably even 10 also at this point. And I've built quite a lot of different things. In front of me is a 4-bit CPU. Very slow, very bad one. Nonetheless, a 4-bit CPU. So, been around and about, and I wanted to make a guide on how you can make some of these stuff, all the way from basic up to way more complicated stuff. Been playing Minecraft for a long time, on and off. Over here is a 4-bit divider that was made by Master, if I believe. I built that one. Over here are some normal carry cancel ladders. We're gonna get to that stuff. All of the really complicated things in later ones. So what I have planned to have people learn in these videos is I want people to get a good understanding of how to be in the right mindset about Redstone, and how to learn like different aspects about it, and how they can start creating their own things through like just their own creativity. So let me just quickly go and warp to. We are playing on a server here. We'll get to that in a second. Let's quickly warp here. Here we go. This is basically what I have planned for today. Just going for very basic components. Basic components and some tips about them, and this is very introduction level. If you're better than this, I suggest you to skip ahead in the series as you please. This server is a server I've been playing on for nearly since it opened, for like 8 years now, and it's minecraft.utopia.cu.uk. That will be in the description as well. You can come and play on here. It's a small server. Right now there's only me on. It's very friendly, and if you want to learn stuff, if people are available, they will almost certainly always help you. So first things first is these are the components I have selected for today. It is the standard Minecraft solid block, the Minecraft lever, the redstone dust, the redstone repeater, and the redstone torch. And the reason why we have the block in here is because while most people just assume it for granted and take it for granted, it is a very useful block to have in your arsenal. It's heavily underutilized by new redstoners especially. Yeah, there's not much to talk about the redstone block. The only thing I will mention is that remember that this block can be moved. This block can have power sent through it and be extracted from it. And this block can have components on it. Not a whole lot else you need to know about that. Okay, so let's just go for the lever in the beginning here. Like, what exactly is the lever? The lever falls under what I would call a power supply. And there are multiple things that can supply power. This is a input. For now, all we're gonna know is that this puts power all the way around it, and we can extract that power through whatever means. Okay, now we get to the meat of it. Is the redstone dust. So what is the redstone dust? Redstone dust is basically wire. It's think of like an electrical wire. You can send signal through it if you give it a power source. So if I show you here, we are now sending power through this wire. We can dictate where this power goes pretty freely within some limitations that I'll get to. And this redstone dust can go on top of blocks only. Right, so what are some of the limitations? Well, we're gonna cheat a little and get a world edit out here, but redstone does not stack further than 15, which means that if we go all the way down here, At number 16 here, there is no power, and you can check this by pressing F3 and looking at the right side, nearly on the bottom of the fourth one, the fourth row. You can see that power 0. And power from redstone goes down 1 each time it travels 1 block. Okay, and travels a total of 15. So from here on, nothing will happen, it doesn't go further. That is one of the first limitations that we have with redstone. If you're wondering how I'm doing the thing with like copying and pasting in block, it's a plugin. It's called WorldEdit. You don't need to have this plugin in any way, shape, or form to continue following this tutorial. It is completely independent. Right. So another limitation is that while redstone can go up and it can go down, it cannot go either up or down if there is a block blocking it off. So right now there is a block on this diagonal and it cannot go down. Same now, it can't go up. This is both useful and a hindering. You can use this for many good stuff, to make wire not go where you don't want it to go and have stuff be a little more compact. And it's also annoying because sometimes you just really need that block there. There's a pros and cons to that. The only exception to this rule is if you have anything that is transparent, which we will get into. There is solid blocks and transparent blocks. Redstone can actually pass through because it doesn't count as a full block cutting it off. So like, there's technically a block here, but you know, nothing is happening. And one could say, oh, that's because it's not big enough, but it's the same for all transparent blocks. If you take glass, it's the same. You can even take one on top as well. Okay. Redstone dust, while it goes into a block, will technically make this block now a power source as well. Keep that in mind. So that doesn't mean that you can send redstone out, because redstone can only be strong powered, it can't be weak powered. Right now this block is called is weak powered, as we call it. Okay. Play a little around with that, just, you know, create some lines of redstone and, like, you know, see what you can do with it. Use the lever or any other power source that you know. Just get a good understanding of how that all interacts. Right. Next thing, the repeater. What does the repeater do? The repeater is a block that has, as I see it, many functions, but let's talk about the 3 main ones. It can extend signal. So once you get to that annoying 15 block limit, this will refresh the signal back up to 15. It counts as a power source that you choose when it's turned on and off. You can put it that way. And another thing it does is that it adds 1 tick of delay. What is 1 tick of delay? Well, a tick of delay in redstone is 1/10 of a second. It's basically 100 milliseconds. And while you might go, oh, but that's nothing, that is going to add up a lot. Now, one thing I want to have people understand very early on is that there's a difference between game ticks and redstone ticks. The game runs on a 20 tick game cycle, which means that everything in the game updates every basically like every tick, and there's 20 ticks per second, which means that the game updates 20 times a second, everything in the game. Now, redstone ticks are half of that, so if you were to say how much delay this adds in game ticks, it would be 2 game ticks, but we are working with redstone ticks here. So 1, right? That's a little confusing, you'll get the hang of it. By default it adds 1 tick of delay, but you can right click it and it'll add 1 more, so now it's 2 ticks, and you can right click it again, 3 ticks, and the maximum you can add with 1 repeater is 4 ticks of delay. For the sake of now, we don't really need it to do much more. So what I want to demonstrate now is the repeating of a signal, and I'm just quickly going to use some WorldEdit here, just for the sake of making this video a little bit more consumable. So you can see if I power here, that asset runs out. But if I power here and we're like at the last one, this has now repeated this back up, and if you check here, it will be 15, and we can go again for another 15 blocks. Comes in pretty handy if you ask my personal opinion. And now the last feature is that whatever state the repeater is in, powered or unpowered, you can lock by sending power from the side with another repeater. So right now, if we just create 2 of these, right now there's power through, and when I turn this off, the power goes out. But if I send power through, lock it, and then turn this off, it remembers that state of being, as in being a locked repeater. Pretty handy. It can also be locked into no power, which means that no matter what we do now, it is completely locked. There's no power going through. It's basically a little bit of a memory kind of thing. It remembers. And it can be locked from obtaining signals. Okay, last feature that is a mix between the redstone dust and the repeater here is that if you want to do so, which is, you should utilize this a lot, is the fact that the repeater can receive weak signal from the backend and emit a strong signal. What does that mean? It means that even though this redstone dust is weakly powering that block, it won't be like redstone dust. It will actually pick signal up from this block. And it also means that even though you're powering into a block, you can use redstone dust on the other end. So this is just a way of knowing a little bit about, you know, how powering sources works, and all of this is like, there's some rules to it, but there's also exceptions to the rules. It's one thing you need to pay attention. For example, one exception to the rule is that yes, powering redstone dust into a block will in fact, if it's just a dot, will in fact create power. If it's a line, it will create power. If it's on top, it will still create power. But one exception is if it's just pointing into the side of the block and it's not directly pointing in, so you have redirected it, even if there's something else on the side. If it's redirected in any way, shape or form, and it has like this shape, this won't be able to pick up power. Okay? Yes. That's about it for the redstone dust. Now, the last component that we're going to talk about today is the redstone torch here. So, what is the redstone torch, and why is it probably in many aspects one of the most important components in redstone? Well, it's what we in the more sort of technical world would call a inverter or a NOT gate, which is by default this is a power source and it's on, and we can turn it off by giving it power. So it's sort of like on equals off, off equals on kind of swap idea. So if we just place it on a block and give it power, this will actually turn on and off. So right now it's on by default, give it power, it turns off. And that is one of the most useful things in redstone ever. Why is it so useful? Well, we're gonna get into that in definitely later episodes. But for now, know that it can be placed on top of a block and also on the sides of a block. It cannot be placed underneath, it's not possible. So basically, this will also strong power a block, but only if the block is above, which means that you can take out a signal. It will not strong power like from the sides or whatever, because it doesn't. The only places that it gives power is that it sends power strong up and then weak power to all of the sides. And strictly speaking, it also sends weak power like below it. But that is already on a block, so that one is basically, yeah, don't worry about that one. Right. So what are some use cases for torches? Well, if we wanted to send up a signal, I want you to play a little bit around with sending signals up and down, just basic, getting an understanding of how to direct signal. So a way you could send up signal is just by spiraling up, or like making a staircase, or just, you know, going up once every time with the blocks. However, this is, while it is fast and it works, it's a little bit bulky and a little bit not so neat and compact, you know. Another way you can do is you can make a tower of these where you go block, redstone torch, because remember, we're strong powering these blocks, so this is a power source now, meaning that it will actually turn off the next torch, and then if we proceed like this, we will end up with this tower where it alternates one every time, so it's like 1 0 1 0 1, right? Which means that currently, if we wanted to, for example, just as a little fun thing, we could say we wanted to power in here, and like it doesn't really matter what we do, just take out an output here. So if we were to power this, it'll send basically whatever we're sending down here all the way up through, because we're forcing every other one to change, right? So all the ones that are off comes on. Another way you can make this one, which is a way that is basically the same, but it's just a little bit of another design, and it's also it's making sure that all of the on ones are at the same side and all of the off ones are at the same side. Same effect though, completely. It's off on the top here. I flick a lever down here. It comes out here on top. Yes. So that is some different things we can utilize here. I want you to play around with this and try to figure out how the different components interact based on what I've told you already. Try to make a something that does something. You know, right now you don't have that much to work with. So in future episodes, I'm going to be looking at basically expanding into other components. In the next episode, we're going to look at some of the rest of the components, and once we've been through all of the components, we're going to move into circuits and logic gates, like what we build up of these components. And then once we found the things that we build up of the components, and we have built an understanding of that and different tips and tricks about Redstone, we can start moving into learning about mathematical circuits, memory circuits, you name it. It can be anything really. Screens, displays, calculators, stuff like that. More expanded stuff. So right. So I want to end up with a little bit of a simple, let's call it a homework. A little bit of a task. So over here you might have noticed this. What I want you to do is I want you to build this, which doesn't do anything. It's nothing. It's supposed to be something that you have to finish. So what you do is you just get a line of redstone here. You get a block besides it with a redstone torch that sends power into this redstone, and then you get a repeater here just pointing in. What I want you to do is that you can use these 5 components we have talked about today. You can use blocks, levers, redstone dust, repeaters, and torches. And you are allowed to place 2 blocks. Only 2 blocks. It can be 2, any combination. You name it. Whatever you want. And you have to make this into a clock. And now you might be wondering, what exactly is a clock? And that is a good question, and I'll show you quickly what a clock is. That is technically a circuit, so we are cheating a little by going into what a circuit is before it is. But a clock is basically a loop of current that is infinitely going back and forward. So if I quickly power and unpower this, what will happen is that this is on, which powers this, which 1 tick later this will unpower, but then 1 tick later this will power, which 1 tick later will power this again, and it'll go around in a clock. This is a clock. It is just infinite reoccurring current in a cycle. I want you to create the same effect should be pretty easy to understand when that is happening by placing only 2 extra blocks here. Okay, that's about it for the first one. Any feedback is highly appreciated. You can leave it down in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell button just to stay notified. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, as I do post there often. And look out for my Facebook and Reddit as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next guide.